Good evening, everyone. I am Okocha Marcel. Today is Monday, the 6th day of May 2024. The President of Nigeria, Tinubu, has come in alignment with French government and the United States government to form or install a military base in Nigeria. You and I knows the negative effect of this world power military base in any country. So in this video, we are going to talk about why Nigeria will not last more than 2 years if Tinubu allow US or France to install their military base in Nigeria. How the military base presence can lead to a military coup in Nigeria. But before we go into that matter, it is important to let you know that most Nigerians are not in support of it. And here is it all in the news that the northern leaders oppose US-France military base in Nigeria. Northern leaders oppose US-France military base in Nigeria. Some northern leaders have urged the Nigerian government led by President Tinubu not to allow the United States and French government to relocate their military base from the Sahel to Nigeria. They cautioned that allowing the US and French government carry out such move pose danger in Nigeria. This was contained in a letter addressed to Tinubu and the National Assembly of Nigeria. Signatories to the letter include Abubakar Mohammed of the Center for Democratic Development Research and Training, Kabiru Kafe, former Minister of State for Petroleum Resources from the Arawa Research and Development Project, Atahiru Jega, former Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), Jibrin Ibrahim of the Center for Development Agency, Aouwa Musa of the Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, among others. In the letter, they claim that the United States and French government have allegedly been lobbying Nigeria and other countries in the region to sign new defense pacts, allowing them to redeploy their expelled troops. This is for the simple reason that terrorism, far from abating, has in fact risen dramatically since the US began its operation in the region, the leaders said. They also expressed concerns about the economic and environmental impacts of hosting foreign military bases. Economically, the presence of these could potentially divert government funds and resources away from critical areas such as education, healthcare, and infrastructure development towards maintaining and securing these military installations. This redirection of resources could stunt economic growth and exacerbate poverty in a country where much of the population already lives under challenging conditions. Moreover, hosting foreign troops often leads to increased price and living costs in local areas, disproportionately affecting the lower income population. Environmentally, the construction and operation of the military bases can lead to significant degradation of the local environment. These include deforestation, soil erosion, water contamination, and loss of biodiversity, which are detrimental to agricultural communities and indigenous population. This is part of the letter that the northern leaders addressed to the National Assembly and to Tinubu, warning them not to allow military base of French government and the US to Nigeria. Now, briefly, before we look into the Arise News analysis, why this military base is not good in Nigeria, let me talk about the West African countries, other countries like Burkina Faso, the Mali, the Niger Republic. You know that these countries expel all these foreign troops in their country because of imperialism. Imperialism is no good, extending foreign influence and power into another territory. Can Nigeria go to US now to set up military base? US will not allow it. So this is a very serious something that we must not allow Tinubu to do it. Now, when the juntas left Ecowas, the reason they gave is because Tinubu is working with the West to sabotage the development of the people of West Africa. That the reason why they formed Ecowas, that Tinubu has departed from it. And this is not far from the truth, because we can see that Tinubu's alignment with the West is not yielding fruit in West Africa. It's not bringing development or anything to the West African countries. Well, these countries will not going to allow this to happen, because I know that the reason why the French and US government want this to happen is because the Niger, all these troops, they are welcoming Russia into their territory after expelling US and French government. So US now want to use Nigeria to counter these people, so that when the US and France now have their military base in Nigeria, if there is any battle, you will see the France and the Russia now will begin to fight. If Russia has military base in Niger, and America and French, that is France, they have military base in Nigeria, if there is any little, problem, you will see the exchange of guns and exchange of fire. They will turn all this region to, war zone like Syria, like Lebanon, and so on and so forth. So this is what every Nigerian, every African, including West African people, especially the West Africans, must stand against it. I know that Nigerians will never allow this to happen. But on our back, they don't need us. Only person they need to set this thing up is the president. So the president can just come and allow them to set it up. And when this is being set up, it's going to be a problem. So let us look into what the Arise News analyzed about this incident.
Well, I don't know how we got the epithet northern leaders. I thought the way to describe us is as patriotic Nigerians. We are basically very concerned about the sovereignty of this country. We feel we shouldn't create conditions under which Nigeria will lose some of its sovereignty, and that therefore the idea of a foreign imperialist power having military base where Nigeria has no right of access, where Nigeria cannot ask questions about who is it you are sending here, where, as the agreements they have done with other countries show, they cannot show to Nigeria or the receiving countries the equipment they are bringing into the country, we feel is a profound threat to our sovereignty and independence as a nation. We want to act as our parents did in 1962 when they said no to the Anglo-Nigerian Defense Pact because Nigeria has just gained its sovereignty and we shouldn't be in such a hurry to hand it over to those from whom we took it. Now, 62 years later, we feel even more strongly that no Nigerian should be the player through who this country loses parts of its sovereignty. That's the basis of the letter.
All right, thank you. In the letter, you also mention, amongst many things, the concerns of the proponents, saying that there's an environmental impact challenge that would, and of course, aside from the economic impact of hosting, these trips. Can you expound on that and also share with us the arguments in terms of the fight against jihadist terrorism, how that would impact on Nigeria, and why you would kick against that, if that were the case, of the benefit to Nigeria?
Well, part of what we found very revealing was when the military junta in Niger revealed the reasons why they had to send the Americans packing. One of it is that Niger was not allowed to see the type of weapons that were being deployed and the type of drones that were being sent out from the base, American base in the country. They didn't know whether there were nuclear material inside. They didn't know the composition of those weapons, and they were very much afraid that it could have terrible environmental impact. Secondly, we do know that the location the Americans are seeking is somewhere just by the Niger border in the far north of the country. This is a part of the country that's already devastated by ecological factors and in particular by the downward march of the Sahara Desert. And we feel sending large groups of people there to be playing with weapons in an ecological zone that's already very fragile is not the best for our country.
Right. So one other thing I'd like to bring up is part of the argument you made was the fact that Pentagon's record says pretty much since they came into the region, there's been increase in violence and all of that. But the proponents of this also argue that is this not just going to help our fight against insecurity? Because the argument we always make is that we don't have proper mapping of terrorists in these areas, and we don't have proper surveillance, which are going to be bringing manpower anyway, and we buy their weapons in the first place. So are you not sure that the weapons we buy, if they want to put mapping equipment in the weapons, I mean, we purchase some Super Tucano from America, are you not sure that they could have put those mapping equipment and be able to get intelligence and reconnaissance from us?
I think the key issue as far as the Americans are concerned is that I would agree with you, they have a very high capacity for surveillance and intelligence gathering. They've always had that capacity. But again, to go back to the example the Niger gave, is that the Americans refuse to share the intelligence they are collecting with them, and that these terrorists will be attacking their soldiers, and they will not receive any warning from the American drones that this is a group of terrorists coming towards their soldiers so that they could take measures to defend themselves. And when, therefore, after 12 years, they came to the conclusion that the intelligence gathered is only for American use and not for the host country, then there was absolutely no need to continue to allow that agreement to continue. The challenge this poses for countries like Nigeria, and definitely for our country, is that we must develop our own capacity for intelligence gathering that will be used, that will be directed for our own defense and for our own offense against the terrorists that are destabilizing our country.
Well, Jibo, I get the argument about sovereignty. But we have some kind of partnership with the U.S. in terms of training, in terms of logistics, existing agreement. Is there anything that we can gain if we have the Americans, at the border with Niger? I mean, just looking at it, or it's all dark and no positive side, to this, just under the umbrella of sovereignty.
I'm a strong believer in multilateral processes, and I think the Americans remain an ally of Nigeria. We've bought weapons from them that have been very efficacious in the war against terrorism we are conducting. We have received, as you have pointed out, training from them on the use of some of these equipments they have sold to us. This is all good. This should continue. But where we are drawing the red line is that it shouldn't get to the level of saying we are ceding part of our sovereignty because we expect additional help from them. Don't forget all the weapons we've got from them, we have paid for fully in cash and in advance before they were delivered. The Tucano planes, we had to pay 3 years before delivery. So there isn't anything about they are doing us any favors. It's a commercial relationship. It can be useful for us, and to the extent to which it is useful, we should continue. We are not challenging that in any way, but I feel at the end of the day, the challenge to our sovereignty must be considered a threat, and to the extent to which it is a threat, it must be blocked.
Well, thank you very much.